welcome to ELT Live number 2. Being streamed live on, we need sound. Being streamed live on September 2nd, 2014. Our topic tonight is the hows, whats, and whys, and why nots of online courses or class websites and online resources. This is Jeff Lebo in Busan, Korea, and I am joined by Daniel.
Hello, I'm Daniel. I teach at Dongmyung University in Busan, Korea.
I forgot to mention I teach at Busan University of Foreign Studies in Busan, Korea as well. Rob.
Hey there. I'm from Newcastle in Australia. I teach K-6 primary school. I teach technology there to the whole school, 580 kids.
And thank you for joining us, Rob. I just virtually connected with you on Google Plus, and you liked something or said you might attend something, and I dragged you in here, so thank you for being dragged.
I think you've got a few fans saying good things about you, so couldn't miss it.
I hope so. I paid them well. Robert.
Yeah, my name is Robert Dickey. I teach at Gaemyeong University in Daegu, South Korea, and my principal area of teaching is in the Department of Public Administration. So I'm really a content-based instructor, and I dabble in technology, but my friends call me Luddite.
I don't know. I think you've lost the. I don't know if you deserve that term anymore, Rob, but we'll see. And we're fortunate to be joined by two Staffords tonight. Stafford and Stafford, will you introduce yourselves?
It's double the fun this evening from here in Seoul. Apologies in advance for my audio between my cold and being outside at a cafe. Hopefully you can all hear me fine. I'm at Sugyeong Women's University here in Seoul.
Great. And Sunny.
Yes, here's a Sunny. I'm a jobless PhD candidate at the moment. I used to teach in a teacher training program, as Jeff does right now, but currently I don't teach any university or graduate students.
All right, but there has to be a better way of saying that I'm a jobless student. I feel like you're out there in front of the Seoul Day saying, you know,
I'm a full-time PhD student.
Right. But somehow I'm enjoying being called jobless because I can take advantage of, I don't know, being non-profit. I don't know how to put it, but anyway.
Well,
so next time when I introduce myself, I will say full-time PhD candidate students. That's what I will say. Yeah.
And we've just been joined by Daniel Craig. Are you audio-enabled yet, Daniel? Dan? I'm going to take that as a not yet. Dan, whenever you are able, please chime in. So we want to discuss the options for doing online sites and using tools and stuff. And this is a huge topic, and it could be many shows. Actually, this could be kind of the topic of the show every week for me. But I want to start with, actually, what I want to start with is what we use. Right now, do you have a course website? And if so, what are you using? I will start. I use Blogger for most of my course websites. I use Kakao for messaging. I use Hangouts for messaging. I have students create Blogger. I've experimented with a few other tools along the way. Who else has a course website that they'd like to tell us about, or what tools they use?
Okay, well, I'm using the campus-based services, which are not as fully developed as a Blackboard, but we're able to post stuff and arrange for a bulletin board service and a little bit of file sharing. A lot of it is basically enhancing the classroom and enabling students to work outside the classroom. And then I use Kakao Talk. I get messages from students all the time. It will probably ding while we're in this conversation.
All right. And Dan Craig, since you've just joined us, can you quickly introduce yourself and answer that question? Double duty.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't catch that. What'd you say?
Can you quickly introduce yourself and tell us what sites or tools you're using in your teaching these days?
Sure. Well, I'm Dan Craig. I teach at Sangmyung University, kind of a little bit north of the Blue House. I teach, oh geez, what do I use these days? I'll use Moodle for a lot of my CMS kind of stuff. I'm starting to use Facebook a little bit with classes as well. I use a little bit of everything. And it kind of depends. I'll try something one semester. If it works, I'll keep with it for a while. If it doesn't, I'll move on. In the past, I've also used Twitter, KakaoTalk, a number of different chat clients, of course. I'm using a lot of the Google products now, Google Docs, spreadsheets, sites. Even though I hate them, my call students are using them. So. I don't know. Yeah, so a little bit of variety. I pick and choose.
And Stafford, what are you using?
Like Dan, I have Google Sites for all of my in-person classes. For my online classes, we use Blackboard at Sukde. In particular, the Blackboard Collaborate tool for our live synchronous classes. I always get those two confused. So basically, Blackboard and Google Sites.
All right, and Daniel, do you have?
Yeah, I'm using Facebook groups for my English classes, and Kakao.
All right, and Rob, you're in an elementary environment, so maybe your interests will vary. But what are you?
Yes, I guess you'd call it elementary and part of middle too. So we go up to year 6. Edmodo mostly. That sort of structures a lot of what we do. Certainly what I do. A lot of the class teachers, in the older stages anyway, they have their own class blogs, which the kids kind of go out and they have their own blogs from that. But Edmodo's running what I do, and I'm interested in taking a good look at Google Classroom now it's out too.
All right. And Sunny, have you in the past used course websites?
In my case, I never created my own website or anything, but there's Kakao Group, which you introduced it last time. I use that quite often recently, and there's another good blog named Naver Band. I quite like that program because I can upload very large videos there, and people can post their writings and their audio recordings too. So I get to use that quite often.
And for those outside of Korea, Kakao is a very popular messaging service here. Naver is the Google of Korea, and they offer a lot of features. And a lot of the Korean-based tools are used by Koreans and no one else. But they offer some pretty good functionality. So we'll talk more about the advantages and disadvantages of different ones, but I wanted to start with, or continue with, the why not. All of us apparently have dabbled with online courses, but what were some of the concerns you had beforehand, or with your colleagues, what concerns do you hear from them saying, oh, I don't want to do it because, or what concerns do you have about using them? And Daniel, I'm going to go ahead and start with you because you brought up the wonderful acronym of FOMO. What got you into all of this?
It was one of my colleagues at Domyoung, Dustin Hefner, was just completing his master's program in TESOL and was saying he was going to try to use Facebook in some of his classes. So I looked into doing it and thought it might be a good idea. I'm now working on my master's in an educational technology through the distance education, and came across the FOMO, the fear of missing out, as being something that's maybe motivating students to get online, motivating teachers, motivating everybody to get on and see what's happening without them online. So anyway, I'm maybe kind of using that, or maybe kind of thinking about that in a way, as a way to get students involved in our classes. At Domyoung, the biggest issue we have with, I think, among other teachers, what their complaints are, their hesitance towards getting online, is getting students to sign up. Like the actual act of them going online and signing up is pretty hard. It's hard to make them do it if the site's in English, if the site's doesn't have a Korean interface. They just end up having 5 or more students just not signing up.
What other objections have people experienced or heard about, or do you think prevents people from going online with their courses?
Well, certainly for the primary and elementary level, you know, parents and some of the teachers as well can have some issues around cyber safety. Do you call it that in Korea, cyber safety?
Sounds plausible.
Yeah. Well, you know, safety online, and so those sort of issues, and so it's something you have to be really aware of from K to 6 anyway. Different tools can be better than others in terms of that, but we need to be aware of who the audience is and the potential audience as well, and what sort of information we're giving out on these sites.
Rob, I just want to mention, I'm not getting video from you. I don't know about others.
Are you not?
Yeah, are you seeing Rob?
I see that I somehow got shut off. Let me see if I can.
Oh, I muted you because you were making noise.
Okay.
Robert got muted. Rob, I don't see your video. Do others see it? You do see it. All right, I guess it's an issue on my end. Please continue.
No, to me, Rob's just an image.
Oh, that's no good.
A frozen. No, now it's gone.
I'm not sure what that is, sorry.
You can try muting your camera and unmuting it?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
There you go. Here I am.
All right, well, at least we see a picture now. Oh, there's the real Rob. Awesome.
Here we go.
So privacy is a big concern.
For sure. It's something we're always talking about. You know, and I know we're talking about the negatives now, but I mean, on that, a big part of what we do is to get kids online in a very positive way so that they can practice their digital citizenship. And a lot of these tools are handy in that way, but we also need to be aware of what sort of details we're giving out and practicing those skills all the time. We're always talking about it.
And that's certainly an issue for the people I teach. Now, the undergrads seem not to care so much. They're used to living online. But in teacher training world, teachers are very reluctant to, or can be reluctant, to post anything online with their identity. And one way I deal with that is to say, use a pseudonym. You know, I want you to post stuff online, but you don't have to reveal your actual identity. And for the few people who have expressed that concern, that seemed to suffice. I can imagine someone still objecting, but that's how I get around it.
I wonder if we could call that digital senior citizenship, perhaps.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Do you think it's just old-fashioned to not want to share your whole life online? Ask Jennifer Lawrence that these days.
I think my students, I have the ones that voice concern are not necessarily about their identity or you know, being known online, as much as it is just being acquainted with the tools that, you know, I'm providing for them. I try to keep things as simple as possible so that if they can upload a file or attach a file to an email, that's about as technical as it's going to get. Otherwise, they start to show maybe a little resistance after, you know, their first failed attempt.
Yeah, I think that's a really significant point, is that people can object because of extra work for teachers, but extra work for the students, and how much do you want to spend time, you know, I've had some classes that take more than an hour to get their Gmail address registered.
Another side of time is once you start making this online presence, my students, they start treating it like a 24/7 classroom. And I don't really want my phone pinging at 1 a.m. It really bothers me. It really bothers my wife a lot more, which is what bothers me.
You do know how to turn notifications off, yes, Rob?
But it doesn't matter if I get the ping or not. The students are sitting around waiting, and then I see them the next day at 9:30, and it's like, well, how come you didn't answer me? Well, I'm in class. I say, do not expect anything after 10 p.m. You know, it's like, I'm done. Don't expect me before 9 a.m. the next day. But they don't get it. They just, you know, they're 24/7. Their cacao's running all day long, and if there's something up on the website and they're reading it and they have a question at 1:30 a.m., I can't finish my job. Then they're gonna call you. So yeah, on that level, more work. Not only just prepping the course, but running the course. It becomes full-time plus.
Well, certainly, we thought now that a few teachers at my school are doing the same thing or going online, we found grade objections to be like a flood now after the semester's over, because we have such open access. They have such open access to us, and they feel so so free to contact any time. I had 30 people saying, "Teacher, why no A?" and that increased dramatically this semester.
Was it because they seemed to have more access to you, or because like everybody else's work was online so they could see it?
No, definitely the latter. Definitely, they had more. It was because of more access. There was the feeling. They said, I'd done all the homework. It was all there. They could see it. But certainly, it was just that it's so easy for them to get on their phone and make a complaint, whereas before they might have had to come to my office or to make a phone call, which I think is more intimidating. So the ease in which they can access us is also maybe what Robert was saying. It's allows them to feel maybe too free.
But I like the idea that it's no longer intimidating to get in touch with your professor,
Certainly.
And I think those odd occasions when I have been awake at 1 o'clock in the morning and have responded to a student's email in like 30 seconds, they kind of appreciate that, maybe.
And I think it's also fair to set your own parameters and say, I will be available. I'll have virtual office hours from 8 till 9 p.m. tonight. After that, I'll get back to you within 24 hours or something.
Absolutely.
Any other concerns, gripes, anything you want to get off your chest, please?
Can I ask maybe everybody else there, and that is, what's your, what do you think about bringing them to your sites and taking them out of the ones that they're using already? Because I notice a lot of teachers will do that. We create these destination sites, and the only reason they're going there is for us. And they're not things that they were using already. Now, a lot of you are using Katalk, which, of course, the students are already using. So that would be an example of going to where they are. But, of course, I run a Moodle site, and, that would be an example of them coming to me. So what's your stance on it?
I like them coming to me. No, seriously, I ran a Moodle site for several years, and now we run the university classrooms because we have to, the university system. But still, it's not something they would normally hang out at. If you ask them, did you check this, did you check that for your other professors, did you get your school emails? It's like, no, I turn my email forwarding, right? My university email account forwards to my preferred account. But when it comes to work, when it comes to real life, they're going to have to do these things. They're going to be pulled out of their comfort zone. We got to check our university email accounts, even if they're horrid. So
I don't. I have it forwarded.
I don't think we can.
Okay, so maybe once again I'm the odd man out. But at least at my school, the professors too, we have to work out of areas that are not our preferred. So I think it's part of life and it's part of education, and we're supposed to move them out of their comfort zone.
My concern is probably more that that they might be having to go to a lot of different places because of different classes. With the number of classes that they're taking, the professors could have them going to, 5, 6, 7 different locations for their classes, which is troubling. Using the, I'm not saying that using the university CMS would be any better, because I don't know, most of them that I've seen suck. But
well said.
It is something I kind of worry about. And I've already said I use a lot of my own sites and places that they wouldn't normally go, but I struggle with it.
One of the goals for me is to minimize suffering, which means fewer logins. So that's one of the things I like about Google, is that one Gmail address gets you to Docs and Blogger and Calendar and a lot of YouTube. And it's also important to me that the students own their own content, which is one of my frustrations with university-managed LMSs or LMSs in general, because the content lives in there, and once the student's gone, it's gone, or it's not as accessible. And I want to encourage them to kind of, this is my space, and so for my course, okay, this is our space, but I want them to have something that they can take the ball and run with afterward if they so choose.
I think that's massive, Jeff. And if you don't mind me just mention, you're right with the Google thing. The fact that you can have all these things with one login, but also they interact with each other. And I think what you're saying there, Daniel, is oh sorry, not Daniel. Is there two Daniels?
Yes.
It's two Daniels, two Robs. Fantastic. Daniel with the headset. What you were saying there, I totally agree with. About bringing them to us or not. But I think what we can do is think about how are the students going to interact with it. And for instance, with Edmodo that I use, a lot of the kids and our kids are installing the app on their phone or their iPad or whatever, and so it is actually accessible to them. Although it's a separate thing, it's right there in their interface, and so it's easy to do. They don't have to go to this site and log in. And if you're looking for engagement, it needs to be right there, so they don't have to log in every time they just want to say something or see something.
I think I might argue that that almost the phone in its own right is a single spot, a single place.
Yes.
And as opposed to different websites, because in the phone it's just usually it's a one click. It's right there. So I think I would say that maybe just having them go to something that's available as a web app is kind of going to where they already are.
Yeah.
So would that be like using something like Socrative as opposed to your own sort of Google site or Moodle or whatever? Do we say Socrative or Socrative? I'm never too sure.
Socrative?
Socrative, Socrative, potato, tomato, tomato.
So, but to sort of paraphrase what you're saying, Daniel, it's something that's already there as opposed to putting up that wall where they have to log in and join something, or am I not quite getting it?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're paraphrasing me? Yeah, I think that's about right.
Can I add to that? Part of Web 2.0 and then Web 3.0. That can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But we're looking at being able to mash up these different things. And Jeff, you mentioned the fact that the kids they should be able, and the students should be able to take one site. This is probably a poor paraphrase, but do things on one site and do things on another site, and maybe be able to use their own voice, but bring it together so they have ownership. I think you used the word ownership. Well, a big part of it needs to be that they can take things that they create, and it's easy for them to embed it in whatever they're using as their voice and put it out there to the audience. So if you're using a blog, make sure it's something where they can easily take some of their work, be it photos or stuff from somewhere else, and easily embed it and share it with others.
Which is another advantage of Google, is that not only does it tap you into the Google universe, but there are so many sites that let you log in with your Google ID, Twitter and Facebook if you want, I think. So Elizabeth Ann has joined us. Hello, Elizabeth. Can you say hello, Elizabeth? We see you. We don't hear you yet. I believe she's here to not represent, but speak on behalf of PBWiki, PBWorks. All right, Elizabeth, we're not hearing you yet. You might still be listening to the webcast. If you are, make sure to mute that or pause that. And when you're ready, chime in, please. All right, well, it seems like we've moved on from concerns. We're kind of talking about advantages and disadvantages of different options. Anything else on particular platforms you like or dislike, or your dream? What's your dream? What's best case scenario? What don't you have access to that you'd like?
I thought Moodle, when I used it several years ago, was quite good. One of the biggest issues was the fact that it was being run off my campus server with myself and a very, very, very part-time, limited English proficiency campus admin, and so we had lots of issues with getting it running and continuing running. What it didn't have was the video interactivity between teacher and student. And I've seen some brilliant commercial softwares that work. Not any better than this Google Hangout right here. Hangouts is far better than anything we had access to 4 years ago. Just unbelievable. But Moodle allowed a teacher to do a lot of things in one place. It had the learner management system where students can submit their homework, you can check it, you can all the feedback. For a teacher perspective, where we're handling several classes and several hundred students often, that worked really well, and students get in the habit of logging in 2 or 3 times a day, or if they're working off their phone, they can maintain a continuous login, depending on how you set the timeouts. But I'm less a fan of Google in general. I see 1984 with a Google face. Sooner, Stafford heard me say this. There's just so much data being collected, and sooner or later, Google is a for-profit business.
I have accepted them as my digital overlords. If I had to choose, they seem like the best options. So.
But they're doing a lot better than Yahoo, that's for sure.
So I'll pick up the ball and run from there. I've been lucky enough to, I've been forced kind of to use Blackboard for the last 2.5 months. And the last time that I used it when I was doing my master's degree 5 or so years ago. And I've been thoroughly impressed actually by some of the improvements to the whole Blackboard system. Chief among those being native editing within Blackboard. So students can upload their Microsoft Word file, and you can actually edit and comment on the file itself within Blackboard. It saves me from having to download things, open Microsoft Word, and then go and send it back to them. And the other thing is the Collaborate tool, which is what we use for live classes. And despite it running in Java, I particularly like the idea of being able to have my students in one window, having a whiteboard space in another window, and sort of interacting with my students both through video and audio, but also on the whiteboard space. We are trying to very much replicate the in-class experience where I am at Sukde, and despite some people saying that maybe Blackboard isn't the best of solutions, I think in terms of replicating that in-class kind of thing, it's not doing too badly.
Yeah, I am definitely biased against Blackboard, a big part because of what they tried to do with patents a few years back, but also because when I did use it, it felt like such a closed, walled garden. How are they doing on the openness front? If I want people to go beyond the Blackboard, can someone click and see the students' work?
There is a significant integration with things like YouTube and being able to not only embed videos, but run like in the Collaborate interface. You can play videos and browse the web with the students in real time.
Within Collaborate you can, but what about if they want to post a public blog on the internet? Can it be accessible by the public?
Right. No, like in terms of sharing from Blackboard, no, it's still fairly closed off.
Which for some people is what they want, and I appreciate that. But I like the big graffiti wall of education. Elizabeth Ann, I wanted to say hello again. I think we can hear you, but I muted you because we're getting a bunch of moving noise. But if you can say hello, please do. You'll have to unmute yourself first.
Yes, I'm ready. Oof, you can hear me fine?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. I've given up on the computer, so I picked you up on my phone. So I'm Elizabeth Ann, and I'm in France, and I teach English for special purposes to physics students. So I started off a while ago using AB Works. So we have a class wiki, and then because of course there's always marks involved, I heard some people saying, oh, if it is getting them all online. And in fact, what I do is I use the system of, they have a continuous assessment mark, and so the continual assessment mark is entirely based on the wiki, on their personal and private wiki, which they have to create and which they keep themselves. I mean, I can tell you more if you wish, but I think that's quite a lot, and I've missed a lot of the conversation.
How do you feel about wikis in general? You know, when I first started using wikis, I felt like they were so much less user-friendly, just in terms of formatting and things, and just it seemed like a steeper learning curve than just creating a blog post somewhere. But I think they've gotten much more user-friendly. For some reason, I just personally never bonded with the wiki way. Has your experience been that students can go there, do what they need to do without too much suffering?
Well, it has changed so tremendously over the 5 years. Every year was totally different to the preceding one. At the beginning, they were saying, no, we're not going to register with something online. Even at that time, I was able to say, well, you have a Facebook account, okay, absolutely no longer in any way a problem. And I have made my instructions ready-made for each year. I did to what to do, and the rest problem.
Elizabeth Ann, I just want to let you know we're losing your audio a little bit. It's getting kind of choppy. Oh, and now we just lost. In which case, I will take this opportunity to welcome Lisa Bellamy to the text chat room. And no, you're not doing anything wrong. And if you would like to join the Hangout, I will send you a link. If anyone would like to pick up the conversation somewhere, please do.
Well, I'll just very quickly say we've used wikis at the school that I'm at. I've used them, and I've been using them for years. I've been promoting them, and I always do because I love the idea of this knowledge building. And I mean, Wikipedia is the obvious choice, but you look at any wiki, the Muppets wiki or whatever you like. There's a wiki on everything nowadays, and they're brilliant because of the linking knowledge. I mean, conceptually, we know that we want to link every idea with every other idea, and then you have this beautiful mind structure of knowledge. Wikis are perfect for helping to collaborating on building that together, but it never works out quite that way. And I think the students have the same view of it that you do, Jeff. That it just isn't a comfortable space to work in.
Sorry, I was just checking out the Muppets wiki. I think in terms of wikis, one of the things that I always got on was that when I was at school, we were taught how to use HyperCard on the old Mac Classics and the Apple IIs. And it's sort of... not that old, but that sort of idea of the HyperCard, it's the same sort of paradigm with wikis and things. I know I always thought they were quite easy, but nowadays... you get students who are used to rounded edges and push button this, push button that, without having to do any coding, as it were. And maybe that's some of the issue that maybe even you have with wikis, Jeff. It's not as Web 2.0 as perhaps we're used to.
Can I interrupt again now I've got back online? I can't agree with that because on the one hand I think that they are sufficiently Web 2.0 for university students. Obviously I'm not talking about primary schools here, but also it's kind of, I'm a bit of an evangelist, and I am trying to encourage them to be as to use the system and not be just caught up in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. What I was perhaps poorly saying though was that with with that background in like HyperCard and some more what are probably more primitive technologies nowadays, wikis seem to me very, very natural and very normal. But I think students nowadays are lacking some of that background, and that might be part of their resistance to it.
I'm wondering if we can segue away from platform or choice of tool to what you want to do, regardless of what you use. What's something that you do with your online course that adds value to the class experience?
Good.
There's been one bug just flying around all night. I'm going to get it.
No, I mean there's one very concrete example. As teaching my scientists, we do measurements. So one of the tasks which I used to do face to face, they bring in an object and they hide it and they have to describe it. It is so many meters long, blah blah blah. And so now with the online tool, they can do that at home on VoiceThread. And in class, we play the VoiceThread, guess what is my object, and so they have then, done this activity. It takes us now very, very little time in class, and they have time to practice. I mean, it's obviously a very little thing.
On that specific note, especially as most of us are language teachers, the whole audio-video thing is really key. And I think the ability for them to record their voices and hear it and share audio and video really easily is useful, has all sorts of potential applications. But has never been especially user-friendly. If you want to say, okay, just record a video and send it to me, VoiceThread does that, and I think it's great, but like, it has never worked smoothly for me. It's slow. It doesn't work on that computer or this computer. Any audio-video tools that people would like to send a shout-out to? One that just came across my radar is Clipit. A very friendly, just go to the site, press record, you've got your audio, you can send it, you can embed it. Which for me, with having their blogs and I want them to record something and post it, it's always hard. You get an MP3 file, but like you can't put it on Google Drive and assume that it's going to be embeddable in a Flash player. But Clipit, and I'll toss in the address, seems to do that in a pretty friendly way. Any other related tools you want to mention?
We have a...
Yeah,
sorry, you go.
I've used Clipit also sometime in the back. Thanks for the refresher, because I'd totally forgotten it. And there's 2 or 3 other similar things out on the web if you just Google it, voice recorder, and I've used that, and it works well, much better than asking people to record off their cell phone and send you a file, because goodness only knows what kind of format stuff you're going to get then.
I did want to say hello to Lisa Bellamy, who has joined us. Do we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Hello, Lisa. Thanks for
joining. Oh, wow. Okay, because I don't have a headset, and I don't know whether you can see me or not, but hi, everyone.
We don't think I don't know how much you've been listening. Anything you want to either...
I came in a bit late, so I've caught the last 5 minutes. I've used VoiceThread, and I'm really quite illiterate on Google. I haven't done any wikis. Really, this is why I'm listening, because I think I want to get a bit more technical this semester, but VoiceThread is good. It's a bit laborious to set the students up, and it won't accept Hangul, which turns into a nuisance. But I haven't had students making movies or embedding any audio except on a website with Ning, and that was about 5 years ago, I think.
What do you teach, Lisa?
Well, I have been teaching conversational English, and now it's conversational English plus IELTS format, and I also used to teach TOEIC listening.
And this is at the university level?
Yeah, university level, but medium, low-level university, so low-intermediate students pretty much across the board. And I'm interested in using technology, but only if it gives a reasonable amount of benefit for the labour and fiddling around that the students have to do.
What
So,
specific functionality are you looking for? What do you want them to be able to do?
well, probably the students would be able to do anything a lot better than I could, because they're all young and technical. I'm the one who's going to get stuck. So maybe asynchronous conversations with each other. So they have heavy course loads, and expecting to, for example, get a group, have a conversation and find a common time might be a little bit much, even though they're all in the same major. And I'm not sure what the equipment level is with these students. I think some of them commute 2 hours. By the time they get home from campus, you know, who's going to be sitting around doing online stuff at 10 p.m. at night? Maybe there would be, but I'm not sure that's necessarily the best thing.
But I was very pleased to hear about Clipit, because I haven't used that. But at the same level, you know, I mean, I think your conversations, you know, is very difficult. But at the same level of recording something, I find Photobabble works really, really well, because they take their own picture. Everyone can take a picture, and either they can voice over on the smartphone, or they can upload their picture on the computer at work. So there's no one left out, and they take the picture according to the activity, and then, because I do think the idea of being able to practice at home, put on the voice, is good, and it's quite a small, again, I do little things.
and I think that idea of conversation is a challenge, whether it's with audio or just asynchronous text. And you know, a lot of times I'll post something and say, I want everyone to post comments and respond to each other, and it's hard to get going in an organic way where people.
You know what? Well, talking organic, I mean, I think we're all, and I don't mean us in this group, I mean all of us educators everywhere are making this far too hard. The kids have the power in their hands already. They have a phone, they have iPads and the rest. They know how to press record on the video or on the rest of it. And it's a very simple thing. What we need to do is give them a space to be able to embed the stuff, and that's where we need to start using open tools rather than these very closed-off tools. Tools where they just have to, you know, if it's a website like Weebly, or if it's, you know, anything like that, a wiki, somewhere where they can very simply embed anything digital, then they can choose the tools they use. I mean, there's obvious ones. I like to encourage people to use screen capture so that they can teach other people what they're doing by showing what they're doing in Jing and Ken Studio, and I mean, there's a million great ones. But really, the kids. Can I give you a quick example? I had a class of Year 5 and 6 students, and it was one-to-one teaching. They all had a desktop in their classroom, and I asked them to make their own videos, and they had to write a script for it. And so I set them up on Google Docs. I gave them a template, which was a professional script writing template, and then they just had to go for it in groups. I didn't tell them how they would go about doing it and how they would go about talking about it. Now, one of the groups went home, and that night they did the whole script. They sat down in Skype, just like we're doing here on Google Hangouts, and they were all in the same document, typing it up on one side of the screen, right? They could see each other and talking about on the other side of the screen. Now, I didn't tell them to do that. They just went and did it. They went and told the other kids, and some of the other kids in the class went and did it. That's organic, I think, when you're talking about organic, Jeff. And I think we just need to give them a learning space online, make sure it's open enough that they can use it, and then let them decide how they're going to run this discourse. Because, I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right? Give them the space to talk.
There was a tool a few years ago called Etherpad and PiratePad and a bunch of others. And then I think the code got bought and the product ended. But that was just simple text document where someone could set up the document, no account was needed, it was all free. Then they'd share the particular link with whoever they were writing with, and each writer would have a different color, and they could all edit the one document all at once, which was really good for scripts and extremely easy to use, but I'm not sure whether the product's still around. It might have been incorporated into something else.
It is still around. It's called Titanpad, and I use Chatwing for these text chats now. I was using Titanpad because the text chat is very functional, but you can't format it so that the document space was taking up too much, but it still works as it did, and it's nice because people don't have to log in.
Yeah. Yeah, no money, no login. It's just really straightforward. So Titanpad, okay. So maybe that would be used along with other things that are unrelated, just to get stuff prepared. But yeah, I only did one exercise with that, with script writing, and it was with graduate students, and they didn't have any problems with it.
I know another thing that, I mean, I'm not always asking them to go home and do the work, but now that we can so easily film a number of activities, and very often we can break off in class, film the activity, and then come together and look at it, which for the language is brilliant because, you know, I can pause the video for comments as it goes along. In a way, you cannot interrupt people when they are. What I'm talking about is things like an imaginary chat show with a scientist and various situation things like that, which before we would just do in class, whereas now they can go elsewhere to do it during class time.
Is that filming with phones?
Well, some of them do it with the phones, and I did get the department to buy the flip cams, which don't exist anymore. But there's so many tiny. It works with the phone, but also with small video cameras. They cost less than €100.
I wanted to welcome Kev, or I'm not sure how to. As soon as I welcomed him,
too late.
On the drawer. Yeah, I mean the interaction thing for me is always, you know, it needs to be organic. It needs to be what they're doing. And you look at Facebook, and you know, someone will say, "I had a turkey sandwich for lunch," and it gets 30 comments. How do you bring that?
That's because it's a safe topic.
And like what has been successful is the Kakao Messenger. Like that's where the conversation just starts flowing quickly. On blog posts, hasn't happened for me. I've tried Google Plus communities. You know, I'll get a comment or two. What have been your most either robust or successful online experiences so far?
Can I throw Verso in there? Sorry, you go ahead.
For me, I was just going to say Ning, but it was pretty modest, and all of that technology has been surpassed.
Bob, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Verso, it's an app. You can use it on the website. It's really good for flipped teaching, where you you give them either a video of what you're doing or a video that someone else has done or an image, and you get them talking about it. You might set them a few questions. The great thing about Verso is that you can see who they are, but to each other they're anonymous, and so they're more free to put their ideas out there without worrying what other people will think of them. And you know, you get a lot more robust discussion because of that.
And I'm sorry, what was the name of that again?
VERSO, Verso. It's versoapp.com. It's pretty new, but it's good quality. Yeah. So you know, it's got a lot of. It's one of these things where it's very easy to embed things in there. It's very easy for the teacher. The kids do need to log into it though. You know, that's just one small wall. But yeah, they are anonymous to each other. But they do engage in chat with each other. But you know, kids. Students, even older students, I know I did when I was in uni, worried very much what people would think about my ideas, and so they're more happy to put their ideas out there.
Elizabeth, I think we have a flyover. I might just mute you temporarily. Please feel free to unmute. Any other new tools that have come across anyone's radar that they think, oh, that sounds promising?
Yeah, just a relatively practical thing in terms of moving files around. I've glommed onto something called EntourageBox.com, which essentially gives you a place to upload, where students can upload their files, and you can choose whether you want them to upload it to your Google Drive or to, I think it does Google Drive, Dropbox, and Amazon. Very simple sort of upload interface. The students can leave a comment saying, you know, I've uploaded my file, and once you've graded it or made comments on it in something like Google+, they can go back to EntourageBox and download the graded file.
I will toss in a link that one of my former trainees sent me. It's an English dictionary that comes with translation into dozens of other languages called Divi, and it also it uses video examples. So it's nice, concise definitions and synonyms, and then it also will just go to the web and use video samples. I'm getting echo from someone. Who is that?
Elizabeth, I think. Little green dots.
Elizabeth, do you want to say anything before I mute you? We're getting some feedback.
Yeah, no, I was just, yes, sorry. Is it too much feedback or is it okay?
When you speak, it's okay, but then we'll mute you when you're done.
Okay, no, for me, the talking about, because we're starting to throw in a lot of new tools, which is very interesting. But to me, what I find is the major problem is getting my colleagues to follow. The students, I mean, this thing about my PB Works wikis works so well, and especially for the language teaching with the easy correction. And I have a system where they have their private work and the shared work, and all of that, and they have a platform where they can embed anything. All of that is absolutely great. But then the problem is the other teachers. So when I hear about Entourage, which requires, you know, you can upload to, and you were giving all of these interesting things, that sparked off this remark because it immediately made me think of my colleagues who will absolutely, I don't know, are other people in that situation, or is that changing now? Do you find that you are surrounded by other teachers who are not digitally literate, or are you comfortable with your colleagues?
I would say both. I'm comfortable with them, but some just aren't comfortable with going online or using the digital tools. And part of me says that's okay. Like, you know, I don't think every class has to be digital. I mean, all I can do is show them what I'm doing and share what I'm doing, and if they need any help or assistance, I offer it. But you can't. I don't know. It's a big issue. And you know, we tend to think of it as age-based, but you know, you look at the people in this call, and it necessarily is.
Ouch.
I don't think it's age-based at all. Just in any other type of pedagogical methodology, you've got people who, all across the board. Some people really want to do this. Some people really want to do that. We still have people insisting that dictation is a strongly valid form of language assessment. And maybe it is, but it's not where I'm at. So expecting everybody to use technology or to use the same type of technology is probably not fair. And as a father, I'm going to say I want my kids to get lots of different teaching styles, lots of different teaching personalities, and some of it's going to stick, and some of it they're going to love, and some of it they're going to hate, and that's education.
Great answer.
I mean, you can have a staff meeting where 4 teachers can't agree on an attendance policy, and that can be discussed for an hour. So getting them to agree on technology is overly ambitious. Maybe it has to be done through pull-through. Like you do something with your students, and they love it so much that they ask the other teacher, "Can we do, you know, can we use this app or something?" and get everyone onto the one app that way. But then you have to be the pioneer with the brilliant thing that inspires all the students.
But when it comes to the technology, it's all about experience, I think, because I wasn't very comfortable with the technology. Like Jeff and I used to work for about 2 and 3 years together. Is that right, Jeff? And he was always technology guy, and he introduced webcast kind of thing. But I never had experience before, so I was kind of very, how can I say, afraid of using it and uncomfortable using it. So I never tried it before. But nowadays I'm so interested into flipped classroom things, and I start to see the people right next to me and see how they are using it. So by looking at them, I'm like, it wasn't that difficult, you know? Oh, I can use that. Oh my God, there's some cool stuff there. So like I kind of getting into it, you know? Like right now I'm not good at either. Like I'm using Samsung, not Mac Pro or Mac Air kind of notebook, but sooner or later I might change. Who knows? But still, like,
can you think what was the turning point? Because you saw me doing it 2 or 3 years ago, and it's like, oh, that's nice. but
it was.
But now you're getting your PhD in this stuff. Like, what helped you cross that line?
It was because of the student, actually. Because as Lisa said, like a teacher, like I had a kind of pressure that as a teacher I should be a pioneer. I have to know this app. I have to know this, and like I have to be the leader, leading the students to using those apps and introducing those steps or implementing that into my teaching. But when I look at, I mean, for the couple of months, when I actually look at that kids, even if I don't introduce them, if I just toast the one app or the device, they will figure it out, and then they come with the project, they come with the product, the final product. So they can do it. It was me, you know, couldn't do it. So I don't. Yeah, by looking at them, I was thinking, oh, this is how we're gonna go toward. So don't stand still. Catch up.
That sounds like a hopeful note to end things on. I'm thinking we should head into wrap-up mode. Before we do, I want to ask people for any final comments, thoughts, resources, but I also want to ask everyone here if you have a course website or anything to link to in the show notes, please either toss them into the Hangout chat or the careerbridge.net/live chat to save me hours of searching through your, not hours, but time searching through your sites. Or you can do it another way. Not yet. Okay.
Yeah, well, I used to. I mean, for years, from my first year of uni teaching, I was all digital and online assessment and games, and then I think it was when Flash came, and then it was just so labor intensive to get all the data into the apps, and I just thought the payoff's not there. You know, if it takes me an hour to program. I used to do 8 quizzes. I used to write 8 online quizzes a week, and students logged in and they got grades and they could repeat, and I got all the results, and it was all flowing really nicely. And then when the technology updated, it became more labor intensive for me to use it, and then I reached a point where I thought it's not worth it. You know, and I actually went right the other way and went manual. Now I'm dipping my toe back into trying to get a bit more integrated with what I have, instead of just a little voice thread project over here or a static web page over there.
I think my final comment would be why are we doing it? And do you guys, particularly in Korea, are you talking about the SAMR model, SAMR?
SAMR?
I don't know what it is.
So SAMR stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So basically what we want to move from is where we're just substituting a task with technology with little to no improvement, or sometimes backwards improvement, like you were talking about with your flash there, Lisa, to moving all the way up to redefinition, which is the ideal place where we're doing things that were previously inconceivable. before we had that technology, and I think that's where we need to be aiming all the time, and that makes it worth it when you can actually do something in education that you could never have dreamed of before, and these things they're coming at us, and we've just got to grab them and go for them. That's why we do it.
Coming at it is a good way to describe it. There's so many apps out there. I've got to look at this one. I've got a list of all these things I need to look at, and I'm not keeping up.
Yeah. App phobia.
Could I have a final word to say? I love, as Sunny said, that we the teachers have to teach, and I love what Gavin Udemy said, that the young people are not so much digital natives as digitally comfy. They're comfortable with all of these tools, but in my experience, we are teachers, and there are a lot of things which they don't know. It's to us to change them into the education, and I do find that it has quite seriously redefined my teaching. It's very exciting. It's very distressing that I'm going to stop just as it gets so exciting. Thanks, everyone. It's very inspiring.
I think that the substitution issue is important. Bringing it home, literally, figuratively, all of those home. I often talk to my son because he reads books on his smartphone and his iPad, and I'm the one pushing him to pick up a paper book. And he says, "Well, why is it important?" And I said, "Well, maybe it's not important. It makes your dad happy. Okay, that's one thing. but no, I'm absolutely okay with him reading electronically. I don't like him reading on the smartphone because the text is just so tiny. That's separate. But simply the fact that it's electronic doesn't make it better. And there's too many people who are just madly in love with the toys, the electronic toys. I see teachers who spend dozens and dozens and dozens of hours setting up a regular class. Now, if it's their hobby, that's fine. But that's...
Okay, Stafford.
Oh, I wasn't speaking to Stafford. No, I wasn't. Although, if the shoe fits...
Yeah, guilty as charged.
I don't know why you haven't got your Google glasses on for this.
They're upstairs charging.
Oh, okay.
But no, I just think that it's important that we not try to invent electronic wheels because there's a place for the chalkboard and chalk.
There was that, wasn't there some new research saying that, handwriting notes is better than taking notes on the computer and all that kind of thing? Like now the studies, evidence is coming in that the old ways can be better. Even if the new ways save time, the old ways can be better in terms of getting things learnt.
Yes, I've seen some of those studies. They are true. I can't write to save myself either. It probably says something about my brain.
I tell you, my handwriting has just deteriorated. I so hesitate. I don't ever write anything on a whiteboard anymore. I mean, in class I always use a Google Doc for all my notes, and just filling out forms sometimes I'm embarrassed by my handwriting. Dan Craig, did you have any final words?
Sorry, I've been a little quiet tonight. I've been mostly listening and recording. But I don't know. I mean, it's why do you use these things? There's probably a mix between what interests you and what you think will interest the students. If I'm bored in the classroom, so are they. And so I'm always trying to do new things that I think will affect them, and it will change the way that I operate because I'm never happy. And so I'm always trying to make adjustments. And the technology itself is always a way for me to make that adjustment.
And I will close by saying that I think so much of education is about connections. and connecting ideas, connecting learners to their passions. And for me, the fact that we can sit here in 2014 and have these kinds of connections, and I can sit around and talk to people in their garden in France and in Australia and in a coffee shop in Seoul, and discuss areas of common interest, really fuels me as an educator and keeps me going. Because without this, I'd be alone here in my cave, saying, "Oh, I'll watch another Star Trek rerun." For me, this is probably more productive. And I think the more we can kind of translate this for our students, where all of a sudden they're connecting with people from all over, and there's genuine audience and things like that, I think that's just got all sorts of potential.
Genuine audience, yeah.
All right, well, we will wrap it up there. I do not have either a time or a topic for our next show. Probably next week, but it is a holiday week in Korea, so we'll see. Any topic suggestions? Anything for our next topic?
I don't know what you've covered before, but I'm interested in apps and how you use them for presenting an idea, checking for understanding, the polling functions, and that kind of thing. So you're not really getting the students to generate a great big piece of work, but it becomes part of your teaching, so that you've got results or games or something coming up on the TV. So things like Socrative, which I haven't used, and then there's a couple that are related to that. So I'm kind of at stage one of deciding which one to try, which one to commit to. But maybe you've already had talks on those.
Well, this is only our second show, so we haven't talked about anything.
Okay.
And I like that the online kind of in-class interactive apps, and also we really should tap into the show and tell potential of Google Hangouts. It might be a little tricky. Well, actually, I don't know. With mobile apps, we can figure that out. But it would be great to do some demonstrations and kind of have people show what they're working on as well. Great idea.
That'd be mad.
Don't put me in charge. There'll be technical problems.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate you taking time to join us on a Tuesday night. I know everyone's probably had long days, but I appreciate you all joining us. I appreciate people who have watched. I appreciate people who will watch. If you have any ideas, feedback, comments, questions, please post them wherever this is posted. We'll be back sometime soon, and we'll look forward to continuing the conversation then.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Great talking to you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.